All right, so we're going to make this video and we're going to talk about each step of the way, what's true or not true, because I have to work today, sadly. I have a business to run.
Well, today we are learning much more about a 35-year-old woman who was murdered last year. Now, the family of Tiffany Jenks spoke before a judge during part of a sentencing. It was involving a woman who helped the alleged killer. Brent is live downtown.
If she helped the alleged killer, in what way? Because they never said she did. They never charged her as helping the killer, although she is probably the killer, but that so far is not true.
With more details, Brent.
Go ahead, Brent.
Jenny, good afternoon to you. The family of Tiffany Jenks says that there was no reason why Tiffany had to be murdered.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, what is the reason she was murdered? I get the idea that they're saying there's no reason, but for the public, what was the reason she was murdered? Give me a break.
Today, they shared their experiences and their memories of this young...
What about the murder? Can we talk about what happened that night or what the clues were or who the killers are? Because so far, we just hear a bunch of babble.
Woman. The family of Tiffany Jenks shared these photos with us. Her mother says Tiffany was so incredibly photogenic.
What does that have to do with the murder?
Family says she had it all, beauty and brains. Tiffany had her dream job working with Bonneville.
What did she do at her dream job working for the Bonneville Power Administration, where she was in full control of 31 dams and a nuclear power plant?
Power. Her mother says Tiffany called it running the river. Today, one of her brothers told the judge what it was like to grow up with Tiffany.
She was a vivacious being. You couldn't help but want to be around her, bubbling personality that made you feel alive, important, and loved.
Tiffany's mom made a tearful statement saying she has boxes of awards, degrees, and honors that Tiffany won.
I have so many awards she won, but I don't have her.
Why don't you have her? Well, this girl that you guys hugged her mother might be able to tell you why you don't have her. Because I'm wondering why everybody lied.
This woman, Michelle Warden-Brosey, is being sentenced.
Wait. This is where the news needs to dig a little. And actually, Coin 6 probably is a victim as well. Sir, you're wrong. She's not being sentenced for anything, according to this case. She could be sentenced to jaywalking all she wants. But this girl is involved in Tiffany's murder. That is not what she's being charged with. Keep that in mind.
She pleaded no contest to 2 counts of hindering prosecution.
She pleaded no contest because she knew she would have lost. But what did she plead to? Hindering prosecution. For what? For what? Well, as the story goes, this woman, who changed her hair color and her look as she fled the murder scene, who drove the car that night that murdered Tiffany, 19 minutes after getting in the car, Tiffany was dead. This woman claims she didn't hear the gun go off, her gun, that she sold the shooter seconds before on a promissory note before he shot Tiffany in the head. The claim was made that this woman didn't even hear the gun go off and therefore didn't know anything. And when she took the shooter back to her hotel room where her daughter was the prize, he got sick and vomited because he couldn't believe they were having sex in the bed while their daughter was in the hotel room in the bed. But the police said, even though they arrived at 3:30 in the morning, that when she drove the shooter to the bus to go back to California earlier that morning at about 11:30 a.m., that the DA, who's now the judge, said, it's the same day, but we're not going to call it the same day. We're going to just call it another day. Well, why don't we use the system that the rest of the country uses, which is a calendar? And if you shoot somebody at 2:30 on one calendar date, and you fled the scene on the same calendar day, and you hide the weapon, and you take the shooter to the bus on that same calendar day that we're going to call it, for the rule of law, the same calendar day. But in this case, it wasn't. They said, let's just pretend it was another day. Okay, but let's pretend the sentencing doesn't represent another day, because if you hide a killer from a murder, you're helping the murder. But that's not what they said here. That's not what she's guilty of at all. Nope. This woman, then, after they drove the shooter to the Greyhound bus station in the morning, drove to Kelso, Washington, hid out in a hotel, changed her hair color, bought new cell phones, all unrelated to Tiffany's murder. And then she was going to get married at the courthouse with the money she got from the promissory note on the gun that they removed the serial numbers that day when they shot Tiffany in the head after she crossed state line, which should have been the FBI, but they're corrupt. And because she didn't tell the police at the courthouse, she's guilty of hindering prosecution. Now, by a show of hands, is there anybody in America that's not in a cult that believes that story? Because if you are, you're mental.
Prosecution. She did not have a role in the murder back on October.
First of all, it wasn't October of 2012. It was October of 2013. And second of all, that's a lie. She said she didn't have a role. Well, let me put this into perspective for the public. Tiffany met her killers outside the Mystic Bar at 1:43 a.m. in the morning. At 2:11 a.m., she gets in the car with the killers. Now, keep in mind, minutes before at the bar, by herself, Tiffany told the bartender her life was over. She didn't know what was going to happen. That was about 1:20 a.m. Walked outside, met him at 1:43, got in the car at 2:11. This is where the news wants you to be really confused. Because if they were to just show you the part that I'm going to show you, you wouldn't be confused at all. This woman drove her car with a gun. She removed the serial numbers from that day. She left that bar with Tiffany, knowing her, of course, at 2:11 a.m. Tiffany was dead at 2:30. But that's not what the police tell you, because they're liars. They want you to believe that they all went driving around some remote location to go target shooting, having sex, and then went to the bushes, didn't hear the gun go off, so they drove away without her. If you break it down to its most basic form, and keep in mind, the police are the one with the computers, not me. But the records will reflect at 2:11 a.m., this woman drove Tiffany away from the bar in her car, and for a 16-minute drive to Blue Lake Park from the bar, left 3 minutes. Now, the rest of the story from police, if you believe what they're telling you is not true, is then not true. What we do know is they lied, as well as her family, and this woman, who got 13 months.
October 8, 2012 at Blue Lake Park, but prosecutors say she was there when it happened, knew about it, and never reported it.
What does that really mean? She was there when it happened. Well, Brent, how could she not be there if she drove? Seriously, are you kidding me? How could she not be there? So that's pointless, waste of time. Knew about it. Really, Brent? Did she confirm she knew about it? Because that's not what she was charged with. And if she did know about it, what did she know? Because I, for one, never heard the truth. And I really, really, really want the truth. I need the truth to move on. Brent, we need you to tell the truth. What did she know? You said she knew about it. What does that mean exactly? What all did she know?
Prosecutors also say Warden Brosi glorified death.
Do you mean like vampires and stuff? Because Tiffany went to therapy a week before she died, telling her therapist she was afraid for her life, and he told her not to tell anybody or she'll get shot, and then she was shot. But this therapist is still a therapist, and you, Coin 6, Channel 12, you're all not telling the truth about this murder because it involves corruption. It involves lies that were told by the media. And Brent, my door is open to you anytime. The story you're telling is simply not true. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the defense team did not get a chance today to present their side of the.
You're kidding. They never did. Nobody did. Nobody presented either side. In fact, if you want to hear it, I have it. We'll play it in a minute.
Case that is expected to happen in September.
Yeah.
As for the actual murder trial, the man accused of Tiffany Jenks, he remains in jail here in Multnomah County. His trial not expected to start until next year. We, of course, will be continuing to follow the sentencing hearing and the murder trial. Of course, we'll post more updates on Coin.com. Jenny, back to you.
And then when people comment the truth, we'll lock them down. Why do you do that? God only knows. Bottom line is that if you want to hide it, sure, you can. No problem. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to find a thing here about the case. I don't want them to look and see what all I have because they're scumbags. Stand by. Let's listen to a minute of the court sentencing for Michelle.
Racial departure of simply. Yes. What we have instead is someone who clearly seems to be trying now.
He's doing sentencing for Michelle Warden Rosie, the killer, the co-killer. Well, in the eyes of the public, she must be an angel because we gave her health insurance, a massage, and by gosh, listen to the sentencing for this white person. Oh my God.
And so for the court, the question is, how much does that offset the horrors that she engaged in earlier, that she participated in? We're not talking about someone who merely covered up something at the end, although in fact those were the charges.
Really? Now, I know that I'm the only one that spent 5 years working on this case, but it's important that everybody knows she was never charged with anything. And she sure as hell was never questioned. That's why the police won't give me the audio of her questioning, because they're liars.
That she was found guilty of upon her plea.
She wasn't found guilty of that. That's a lie.
But she was present at the proceedings.
She was present at the proceedings. What does that even mean? Now, I get the idea that I'm not the judge and that I get in trouble for telling the truth. But what does that mean when you're at the proceedings?
Before, the during, and the after. Not necessarily at the shooting itself, obviously.
Well, if she wasn't there for the shooting, let me understand this. She drives Tiffany, who's reportedly out of control mad. They don't say why. Of course, she's going to die, but that doesn't matter. They don't say that. They just say she was out of control. How would anybody in the public be if they knew they were going to be murdered? In fact, getting the public to care about Tiffany more than the story their family tells is difficult because they don't know who to believe. But believe Tiffany when she said, or when the shooter said, she was out of control, mad, crying, upset. She told the bartender. She told the killers. Do you think maybe she was upset about the murder that was going to happen? Could you imagine knowing you're going to be killed? Can you imagine if you were, that your family lied? Is the will money really worth it? This is sentencing for Tiffany's killer.
We may never know that.
Yeah, sure we won't.
I can't completely disassociate her conduct from that.
You did when you sentenced her.
I pay attention to things that your pastor has told us about.
Okay, when a judge moves on to God, I got a problem. What religion is he? Because some religions, not to say Tiffany's family, but Tiffany's family, believes in the system of karma for sentencing. And when you end up with a sentence for a killer that doesn't represent the interests of the public, and he talks about God, oh my God.
How she is beginning to take root.
And
that the concern is that if she's sent to prison now, the roots will loosen.
Can you imagine being a black man in front of a judge going down for 20 years because you had pot plants, and now the government sells you pot and you're still in prison today? Can you imagine being a black man with a couple of things on his record because a couple cops don't like him, and now you're going down for something that's not even true because these police lie? And this judge is going to tell us how her roots will loosen, and we don't want to put her in prison for murder. We want her to be able to grow with Jesus.
It may be harder for her to regain her footing, and she may go off to the wrong direction.
Yeah.
She'd kill her.
The spirituality that she's experiencing now and the treatment that she's in now don't prohibit, however, the idea that someone is to be held accountable to the community.
When?
In fact, the DBT programs spend a lot of time talking about appropriate consequences. What are the appropriate consequences for conduct? And when someone is not served the appropriate consequences, the concern is that they will not learn from their mistakes and they will repeat them, or worse.
How do you repeat them, or worse, when you got away with murder? If you murder again, would that be repeating them? I would think so.
And I'm taking all of that into account. And I'm hoping that Ms. Wharton-Rosie is taking those into account because she's learning as she's going.
We don't really give a shit what she's learning. She's a murderer. I personally could care less anything she thinks. She shot Tiffany in the head. Now, she might not have pulled the trigger, but according to the shooter, she handed him the gun. You didn't say that. In fact, you didn't even get her on murder. You got her on not part of the murder, not driving for the murder, not crossing state line or removing serial numbers. Nope. You got her on going to a courthouse to get married and not telling the police she saw it on the news. That is what you're expecting the public to believe? You gotta freaking be kidding me.
Perhaps for the first time in her life, she's gaining.
Oh no,
as
she's
compared to
probably
losing.
she's gained before.
In my view, to leave Ms. Wharton-Rosie on probation without any type of prison sentence would not be serving her in long-term interests, and certainly would not be serving the interests of the community or the victim's family.
The victim's family lied. They're not involved in this. They have no say. When you lie about your sister or daughter's murder, you're out. The public never got the truth, and therefore the public has no clue what happened at this murder that night. If you want to talk about what the public deserves, you should start with the truth. The public deserves a complete investigation by the FBI into this murder, because you can't speak as to what the public deserves until they know what happened to Tiffany Jenks on October 8th of 2013, the night she was killed at Blue Lake Park.
And these are all appropriate considerations.
Clearly.
But everything that has been said in support of Ms. Wharton-Rosie makes me think that there is no reason why I need to consider a sentence as long as Mr. Rammers has suggested, even though there is a legal basis.
So what happens when a judge retires and they're in kind of like a group, aka quote? What happens? Oh, the DA becomes the judge, and it all repeats again.
For the suggestion, and there's a factual basis for it. But there isn't a need.
No, not at all. No, none. None.
So I've thought about this for some time. I've had weeks and weeks to consider it.
Yeah.
And it's at the same time I've been learning as I've been going throughout all these proceedings.
If you've been a judge for 25 years and you're still learning, we got a problem, Batman. What is it that you're learning? How to recreate a story so that John Captain looks like a clown? Or that might be able to set him up on something else so he shuts up? Because we all know what happens when you tell the truth about a murder.
And I've concluded that the appropriate sentence for Ms. Wharton-Rosie is 13 months in prison.
All right, so about as much as I can stomach there. 13 months for murder. Now, it's not my job to tell the truth about a murder in terms of the public and spend $250,000. It's not my job to beg the public to care about Tiffany more than the lies getting told, okay? But I hope to God, I don't even necessarily believe in God, but whatever. I pray to a higher power or to any God, that somehow you find it in your heart to listen to Tiffany as a person and know that she did not deserve to die. Tiffany knew she was going to die. She knew she was going to die. She didn't want to die. She knew that somebody wanted to murder her, and she did not want to die. Is there anything else you would need to hear other than that to care? TiffanyJanksMurder.com is probably not up right now, and programtodie.com. But Facebook, John S. Captain III, and Tiffany Jenks Murder on Facebook. And remember, do not believe the 5,000 people trying to make you believe Tiffany's words don't matter, because they're liars. Over and out.